Good afternoon. I am Marlon Weems, the publisher of the Journeyman newsletter.
Oh,
And
and
I
I'm oh,
go ahead.
and I'm Shari Dunn, publisher of Qualified at the Intersection.
And this is the show that, as of until now, has not been named, but we're going to do the big reveal, I guess, in just a moment. But let's let some folks get in, and we can kind of go over it. But before we get into all of that, this was Fourth of July weekend. I know I ate my share of food. How was your holiday, Sherry?
Yeah, we were just talking about me. I'm a cook and a baker. Now,
Mm.
so I always tell people I'm not doing no Martha Stewart construction of cakes, but my cakes taste good. And my food might not be, presented in the French style, but the food tastes good. So
That's
I
what counts.
this this was, my first time home in 7 years because I'm usually in California for 4th of July. So I went barbecue crazy. I smoked wings, I smoked some ribs, and I did a 6 hours, 24 hour brisket. So a 2 day brisket. So it was a lot of meat.
Well, I'll tell you, it was interesting because we're at the point where my two grown sons are off doing their own thing in other states, and Shannon and I have Hallie and Ben is home from college. And so he was at work at the IGA, and Hallie was working tables because it's Fourth of July weekend. And our neighbor, which we don't really have a lot of neighbors, most of the houses around us are vacation rentals. But
Mm.
this that we haven't. I mean, there are only maybe two or three of us in this two or three block radius that are like here full time. But our next door neighbor is a guy from Atlanta, and they invited us over, and we kind of insisted that we make the potato salad. So, so there would be no raisins. Anyway, anyway, they had a big ceramic kind of. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like a smoker kind of thing, but it was all ceramic on the inside,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and
Is
they
it is it
had.
was it called a Traeger, do you know?
I have no idea. I
Uh-huh.
really don't. I'm gonna blame it on the mai tais they were handing out, but they it was the traditional thing. It was a lot of fun, a lovely group of people, and you know how um, you can't really tell somebody's politics now, right? I mean, they live next. The guy is, he comes up and he's got three daughters that are from various parts of the country, and they all come together in the summer, two or
Mhm,
three times, and
mhm.
you just, they're friendly and they're nice, and you can't really tell. But it turned out I was pleasantly surprised. They are very liberal,
There you
which,
go.
which
You don't know,
they're,
especially in the
but you just
South,
don't know, right?
right?
I mean,
Especially in the South, but not just in the South. I know a woman who used to live here in Oregon. She doesn't live here anymore. Her neighbors, she liked her neighbors. They had such a good relationship. This is the first Donald Trump election.
mhm.
And then she, of course, this is Oregon, she assumed they were reasonable people. And they're talking all this crazy Donald Trump stuff, and they never spoke again.
Listen, it's a phenomenon. I'm sure that people are going to be studying this because I can't think of just and there's so much, but this
Well,
was
I'm gonna tell you this, Marlon, because this is something a
okay.
lot of people don't know. So I'm from Wisconsin, and many years ago, before Donald Trump was on the scene, Governor Scott Walker, who I actually went to college with, took over in Wisconsin.
I remember
And
him.
that's when they were breaking collective bargaining. And what happened was there was a recall petition where people were asked, do you want to recall the governor? And I signed. Yeah, and my mother was a union employee, so yes, of course I signed. And I was working in news at the time, and so for the first time in the state's history, the conservative, this was national work working through Wisconsin, took the signatures of people who signed the recall, put it in a searchable database, turned community against community, brother against brother, neighbor against
Wow.
neighbor. There was a lot of what was going to happen nationwide that was proofed up in Wisconsin. And
That's,
it
yeah,
was
I
it was
remember that.
crazy. It was crazy. People were getting calls at work. People, and there are still people to this day in towns and stuff in Wisconsin who do not have relationships with their friends or family members over that recall. So it was coming. It was on its way. It was a crazy situation. Yeah.
They workshopped it in Wisconsin.
Yes, they did.
So what's interesting about that story is that when I was still in Little Rock, working in for this big investment banking firm, the state of Wisconsin pension fund was like my breakthrough account.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, they were so freaking progressive. It was surprising. As a matter of fact, I went to visit. I went to visit them, and the guy who was the head of their fixed income portfolios, which was billions of dollars, just confronted me. I mean, it wasn't in a mean way, but he was like, "So how long have you been working for those guys?" Right? And we chit chatting, and he said, "When you gonna start your own firm?" And I was just, and I didn't really know what to say. I'd never thought about it before, but it was the state of Wisconsin that put that whole train of thought on my mind. And it was so I don't know, just really discombobulating to see Scott Walker come in and just flip it all.
It was very discombobulating, especially since he was an idiot. But we literally served on student council together in college. He was a weirdo then, and he's a weirdo now. But the thing about Wisconsin is Wisconsin, of course, has its posse comitatus and race issues and all that. But it was always a place that it wasn't. So we live so close to Chicago, so close to Illinois, right? We never wanted to be, right? We were working class people who wanted to be working class people. Most people want to not be. They want to pretend. They want to be something else. But Wisconsin was always like, this is what it is. Like, this is what we are. And I think there was that. And then Milwaukee, as we shift into the political and other discussions, Milwaukee had Democratic Socialist mayors 4 times in its history. So a lot of people are freaking out about these Democratic Socialists. I think they called them sewer system liberals or something, mainly because the first one improved the sewer systems, public parks, healthcare. Milwaukee itself had, it is the home of collective bargaining for unions. And so there is this strain there in Wisconsin that people, if you just look at it from the top, you might not catch. The Scott Walker thing was a result of the same kind of energy that was going to bring Donald Trump. There was a lot of outside money spent in turning Wisconsin. I mean, there was a lot of confusion, and I call it the troubles, because I was in the news at the time, and it was truly the troubles, like Northern Ireland. I mean, we're talking about family against family. You would go up to Madison, there's sit-ins. These farmers got on their trucks. These people come out the house with their house shoes when he was trying to get rid of collective bargaining. I mean, it was such a situation. There's a documentary about it. I think it might be on YouTube. That is really interesting because the fight for Wisconsin was a harbinger of what was to come in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it like, just because of that union presence that you just described, seems like I read somewhere that, all of the things that, just like, 5-day work week, 40-hour work week, all these kinds of things sort of came out of Wisconsin just because of what you described, because the union influence was so deep. Now, I may be off on that, but seems like I read that somewhere. Uh-oh.
I mean, I know that Wisconsin,
and I just wonder, it might be collective bargaining stuff, or I don't know how that came about.
Yeah, collective bargaining came out of Wisconsin. And maybe as a result, you get the 5-day work week. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. 1886, 7 trade union members in Wisconsin lost their lives fighting for 5 8-hour days. But the 5-hour work day did not originate in Wisconsin, but Wisconsin fought. It was the collective bargaining and the union element. Like, there was always this thing in Wisconsin that you could work a job, my mother used to call it a lunchbox job, take your lunchbox to work job and live a fairly decent life, right? And that was fine. that people had their little vacation home, they could go fishing, whatever. Like it wasn't, they weren't trying to be or pretend to be
They weren't
super.
trying to be trillionaires, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and it was fine. And so that type of work needed collective bargaining. You had to have power vis-a-vis the companies, right? So that you could get the money, but it wasn't, and so the Midwest specifically, I've been thinking about, like, if I could ever get through this current book, I've been thinking about another book which tentatively I'm thinking of titling like The Blacks of the Midwest, or something like that, because I feel like the story of the working class blacks is not told. And
Mm,
the Midwest, because of collective bargaining, because of unions, which originally discriminated against black people, don't get me wrong, they really sent black people around in circles for many years. But as a result of union labor in the Midwest, a lot of black people were able to live stable, working to middle class lives. That story is just not told. Like I said before, anytime people talk about black people, it's either good times or the Cosby Show. It's like there's a whole bunch of black people in between Good Times and the Cosby Show.
yeah. I mean, we used to look at I didn't really watch the Cosby Show all that much, but it was like, dang, they got what, two doctors or what was? I mean, the Huxtables were just like
A
not
doctor and a lawyer, which is
a doctor
totally
and a
fine.
lawyer. It can
And there are
happen.
doctors and lawyers. But my only complaint was, again, there was only between Good Times and the Cosby Show. So you're either in the ghetto or
That's gonna
you're
stick
the
with
Cosby
me.
Show. And it's like the entire swath of the Midwest was full of black people who were not all Good Times and not all the Cosby Show.
hmm I mean, in my family, coming out of Arkansas, I had my aunts and uncles. Um, one was, well, they were two of them were educators. Elementary school principals, that kind of thing. But on the other side of it, like you said, I mean, there we had relatives that had migrated up to Michigan, working for GM and
Yeah,
that kind of thing. I mean,
exactly.
that was kind of like the ticket back in the day.
Mhm, mhm.
So I I, I mean that's a great point because and I think even now when you hear people talk about soccer moms, I always
Mhm,
laugh because
mhm.
that's code for white ladies, right?
White
And
ladies,
and it's
white
like
kids,
you
black
don't
kids, I
know.
guess don't play no soccer.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, right? And but that's
Well, even Hillary Clinton, she was talking about working class whites, and I was talking about that guy who was on Smirconish talking about working class whites, and the idea is the only working class are whites. Black people are either you
we're
know
just black,
poor and leeches,
urban.
or rich and should shut up. Like, but the fact that, every city has always had working class black people is just, I was thinking about that. I mean, August Wilson, his plays do showcase that, but they
Mhm.
still traffic in this tragedy element of it as opposed to a flourishing of it. There was a flourishing of black middle class life, a working class, I should say, not middle class, working class life in the Midwest. People had a house they owned, they had a yard they took care of, they had a few little vacations. They weren't tragedy. They weren't
You know,
tragedy.
I'll tell you what, Sherry, that really kind of just opens, you get into the whole affordability conversation because, you know, um, so my Aunt Minnie, who I've written about and talked about, and she was just in her way, she was a real trailblazer. Her husband, my Uncle Roger, was ex-Marine, high school education, and
Mhm,
he retired from Safeway. He was a janitor at Safeway,
mhm,
but
mhm,
he also had another job at the post office. So he actually retired from two different places.
mhm,
And it was one of those things where he was trying to keep up with my Aunt Minnie's income. She couldn't
mhm,
be the one that made all the money, right?
mhm,
But it was so interesting their story. They bought a house and he was doing like part-time construction work. Hadn't been married that long, and he borrowed $200 from whoever his boss, the company loaned him $200
Mhm.
for a down payment on a house.
Yeah.
And this was back in the day, literally the plans as they told it is like in the newspaper, like, you can have this house for X amount of
Yeah.
money. And they didn't have any big time jobs. I mean, they were just regular, like you say, just working class folks, but they
Yeah.
were
But
able to buy a house.
anytime we talk about working class people, the assumption is we're only referring to white people, and there are no working class Black people, and there are even with immigration, there's been a little shifting. I remember I was working in Texas. I was working in Tyler, and there was a Hispanic man, Latinx Hispanic man, and I don't know if he was from Texas or originally from Mexico, but he was talking to me and this white guy who's from Texas, and he was like, "See, what America always needed was Mexicans." And me and the white guy look at each other, and he looks at me and I look at him, and he says, "We had slaves." I was like, "Hey, it's good being in Texas because it's like people erase our story." I mean, when I was a kid, still Black women were the maids. Not There wasn't a ton of Mexican women. In fact, my father's mother cleaned houses for white folks, as Black people would say, and then
Listen.
Black men were the gardeners. And you couldn't get a cleaner house. You understand me? You could eat off the floor. You could have a meal off the toilet. Their
Yeah.
house was clean, and the yard was perfect. And but the thing of it is, these people who were doing those jobs at that time still came out of Jim Crow. Even if they were in the North and under Jim Crow, Black people had to work well at the penalty of harm up to and including death or losing their income, right? So their incentive was different. And so the erasure of Black labor has been really weird to me because I remember Black women as the cleaners of the houses, as the caretaker of the children. I remember Black men as the gardeners who could garden like nobody's business. They took care of lawns, they took care of all of that. And yes, immigration moved us out of those jobs, but it also moved us into different jobs. But the fact that our contribution to those jobs has been erased is what's weird.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It is kind of weird because, I mean, I just think about my aunts and uncles, and it was like elementary school principals. Another uncle, he would tell people he worked for this car dealership, but he was the janitor for the car dealership. Now, granted, I guess for that time he was well treated. He worked there for, decades, and that was the only job I ever knew of him having. And when it came time for them to buy a car, he got a deal. When my Aunt Minnie and Uncle Roger bought a car, they went to him and they let him be the salesman so he'd get the commission, stuff like that. But at the bottom line, and again, they had a really nice house.
Yeah,
They,
yeah.
you know,
All my
they
grandfather's
didn't
brothers,
rent.
all my grandfather's brothers. So there was this movie once about immigrants coming to America. Oh, what was the movie? It was really a good movie, and then how their families changed over time. But
Wait, is that
basically,
Rich Man, Poor Man?
no, no, no. It was like maybe it was called Coming to America. That could be the name of the movie.
Well, that's Eddie Murphy.
Well, it was a different movie about immigration. But anyway, so my grandfather's my grandfather's brothers all scaled helping each other leave the South. So they
Mm.
would go and get the other, and they would get them in like a caravan. They would go get their kids. These people are escaping. What we don't talk about, even though my mother's family lived in Mount Bayou, which was an all Black town,
Hmm.
they still
I've
were
been to
trying.
Mount Bayou.
Yeah, they were trying to escape still Southern oppression writ large, right? And there were opportunities in the land of the North. Pretty much like white people talk about their immigration stories, but they don't think about the fact that Black people immigrated within the country. Like, so they were leaving everything they knew, just like your families in Italy were leaving everything they knew. They were leaving their food, their culture, the country, everything. And they would put all their stuff and they would bring people up north and they would try to help them get jobs in factories. And all of my grandfather's brothers, my grandfather is a special case. That's a separate story. But all my grandfather's brothers, they did very well. They had a nice home they owned. They all owned their home. They were able to, but through their jobs, their working class jobs, and through bringing others. And one time I was at a conference, a Black journalist conference, and I told this girl where I was from, and she says, "Your relatives helped bring my relatives from the South." Just like the immigration story, And
Hmm.
so I feel like a lot of our story is just washed away, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
just washed away. Like it doesn't exist. And it's a little fun, especially with the 250th anniversary. So did you hear that? I don't know if you saw the live I did with me and Nancy Stearns, where she talked about the
No, I
fact
didn't.
so I did a live with a woman, Nancy Stearns, where we talked about the fact that Donald Trump hijacked the 250th
He
celebration.
sure
So
did.
whether you think we should celebrate or not, I'm going to put that aside. He stole, and he did a classic scammer move. He
I
named
know.
his group almost the same as the main group. And so
That
the
is
people
so
got
messed up.
right. People got confused. They were sending money to his group. They basically committed wire fraud with
They
some
absolutely
companies.
did.
So, what kind of birthday was that, Marlon?
I, you know, this guy can, he just, I mean, there was, I forget maybe it was Rick Wilson that came up with everything Trump touches dies.
Mhm.
But I swear, he has messed up the 4th of July. How do you mess up? I'm old enough. I was a senior in high school in 1976. So the bicentennial year.
Mhm.
It was so cool. Nobody was, and granted, I was what, 17, 18 years old. So I'm sure a lot of maybe the political stuff went over my head, but there was nobody. I mean, there were all kinds of events and everybody was
Mhm.
into it. My yearbook has got like the stars and stripes all. I mean, nobody was factionalized like this guy has, you know, sort of talked every, half not half, but 30% of the country
Mhm.
into, and it's just it's just disturbing, man. I don't
Well, but
know. I
the
mean,
crazy part for me is that there's no outcry. Like if you explain to people, he named his group similar to the group that had been in motion for a decade to put this party on, stole money by diversion from the group, put on a quasi religious bullshit, and took money from corporations. And there's no accounting as to where all that money went. The
listen,
company that they hired to do this is, again, some friends of his. It's some crazy shit. Like where do they do that at? Where you
you
do
know who
that
the
at?
guy was, I think, that was handling? I can't even think of his name, but in the first Trump administration, he was like a web design guy down in Texas, and they just put him in charge of like media strategy. He'd never done it before. And
Mhm.
now all these people are walking away with untold wealth. We'll never know how much. We just won't. I heard with so to be clear, the official group was America 250, and he
Mhm.
set up
Freedom.
Freedom 250. But the most egregious part of it that I am familiar with is that then they went out to all the corporations that
Mhm.
had normally donated to the official group, and they sort of made them think that's what they were giving money
They did.
to.
They
But
did. That's wire fraud. That's
they
wire fraud.
they gave the banking instructions for Freedom 250, and folks thought they were giving money. And so these corporations are like, wait a minute, we didn't even know.
Mhm.
We thought we given to the real thing. And
Mhm.
I've just never seen anybody that can turn
Get
just
away. Who can
anything into a grift. I've never seen it
I
before.
mean, at this point, I'm convinced he could get his followers to eat a poop sandwich and they would be like, it's delicious. I mean, I don't even understand like the level. I mean, he outdone Jim Jones by a country mile. Like, I don't
Oh,
even understand how you get $2 billion for your
he's
personal
making
use.
he's making Bernie Madoff look like he didn't know what he was doing. That guy he got all kinds of money out of people.
That's right. $2 billion. And then they talked about how they're making this money on this meme and crypto. It's not the value, it's extraction. They are literally extracting the money from poor working people, buying these stupid coins, and they are not invested in the coins per se. They're in the kind of structure of the coin, like but
Right.
they're not exposed to loss with the devaluing of the coins. You know what I'm saying?
I know
exactly. Oh, you know what
I'm saying. these coins have no intrinsic value. Like if you bought, I don't know, an ounce of gold, there's a value to it, right? It may not be the most liquid thing in the world, but these meme coins really are just a vehicle for people to send you money without there being a trail. Like if they wired money to your bank account, we would know. We don't know who and how much this guy has gotten. We just know that, heck, what we now know is just what he has reported. And
we don't even know if that's true, because he doesn't really this is somebody who says, who gonna check me, boo?
That's exactly right. I mean, he is just going to keep on going until somebody stops him, and
he
apparently is nobody.
There is nobody. And he was like, you can't stop me. You can't stop me doing nothing. I can knock down this damn White House if I want to. And I'm surprised he don't. I mean, he does what he wants to do,
Yeah. Something interesting is, like you said, this whole thing. Just think about it. This guy is building all this stuff. He's doing all, and I do think maybe a little bit his own people, the MAGA folks, are starting to go, wait a minute. I'm sitting over here eating Oscar Mayer hot dogs for 4th of July, and this guy just made $2 billion. Something, help me. I just got to believe. I got to believe there's at least some of them that are starting to get starting to understand how bad they have been took.
I don't know. Like I said, I think they are so far in that their identity is so tied up into Donald Trump that they would literally eat a poop sandwich at this point if he told them it was good.
Can we not say that again? Because I really don't want to think about it.
But I'm just trying to
I think you're right, though.
I'm trying to really convey how far they are. I just don't think you can get, there just doesn't seem to be any, he could, what he said when he first ran, he could murder somebody on Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen. He was right. And that is the thing about Donald Trump. I will say this, people really misread Donald Trump. They did not understand that he had a power of rhetoric for a certain group of people, the way Hitler did. And, even in the positive, the way MLK did, he had a power of rhetoric that was heard by those he was trying to reach. And their connection to him is so visceral that he could commit he is committing public executions. They're blowing up those boats.
He's just not pulling the trigger.
They're blowing up those boats. They're killing people in international water, while at the same time they want to arrest Raul Castro's brother for, blowing up a plane. You literally are currently blowing up boats in international water with no trial, with no nothing. So I just don't think the hardcore, which I think is a good percentage of Trump supporters, are reachable. I don't think they're reachable. And it's not just him, though. We talked about this before. This setup has been the setup since America started, at least since Bacon's Rebellion, to convince white, poor, working class and middle class people to give up everything in the pursuit of whiteness, right? As an idea, give up healthcare, give up safety, give up everything to stay white and to keep us at bay, and now to keep other people of color at bay, right? And this is so strong. It's like a fever. I honestly don't know how you break it. I don't know if somebody got ideas, but
you kind of made me rethink my little optimism.
I'm sorry.
Because look, I think that we got these midterms coming up, and I think there are some people that may vote in a certain way that, they may not be able to, they're not going to like turn into Democrats, but a lot of them may very well stay at home rather than vote for a Democrat, which,
Mhm.
that helps too. So, oh, we got to talk about FIFA, the World Cup.
Yes, we got to talk about people. Also, I have to tell people, I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody else has had this happen, but I will try to post something and it'll say it's not posting. And then I'll go look at my page and it's posted like 20 times. I don't know if I'm the
Oh,
only
you mean
person.
on Substack on the app?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
I'm
had
like,
that happen
okay, so,
where,
and then I
yeah,
feel bad deleting ones because people have already commented
people,
and restacked, but I have posted it like 55 billion times,
yeah,
not.
I think they got a bug or something, and this has been happening to me over the last couple of weeks. Like you
Yeah, I'll
said, where
post
I'm
something
like,
and
oh,
then
where did the post go? And then I look, and somebody liked it,
yeah, and
and
it's there like 20 times. So I'm not an idiot. I literally posted it once and it said it didn't post. So
mm,
of course I hit it again and then it says post. But I just want to, before you talk about FIFA, I do want to talk
sure,
about this post. This post is from a creator from Instagram and TikTok, and he's talking about white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and how they have maintained their bloodline and their economic ties this entire time. And
mm,
we were talking last time about anti-Semitism and how Jewish folks are put up as the money, the sneaky, the manipulators of the world, but really it's this group. And that's why I posted that. It's these Protestant Anglo Saxons. And then he has in there a little clip of Donald Trump saying he was shocked to find out Mike Johnson had Italian heritage. He thought he was a real wasp. See, Donald
oh,
Trump
see,
is from that group. And
yeah,
this group at the end of the day is anti-Catholic, anti-Jewish. They are the ones who've been running this shit. They are the ones, if you want to look for the secret hand, the hidden hand, it's them. But they have always been really good at, as black people would say, laying in the cut, hiding in the back, putting Jewish folks out front, putting other people out front when they are the ones. And Donald Trump is the only person, because he's a lunatic and because he doesn't care, who says it out loud. He says wasp, wasp, because that's what he is.
hmm,
He is from that group. Anyway, sorry. It's just
no, no, it's all
that's
good.
why I published that 18 damn times by
I think
mistake.
actually it deserved to be published 18 times. So
It was a
so don't
mistake.
feel bad.
Yeah.
That's that's interesting because um and I'm sure you've seen this too. I mean, the transition of people well, Italian people. There were Italian people, like for real Italian, um from the part of Italy where they got that olive skin, you know?
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
people
shoot.
who immigrated here, people from Sicily,
Mm-hmm.
Southern Italians. Northern Italians are very light,
Yep.
white, as you go up that way. I told the story. I was an exchange student in London and hung around a lot of international students, and a lot of them were Italian. One was very blonde, fair-eyed, and he was talking to me about Sicily, and I think he forgot I was black, because I'm American. And he goes, "Oh, the Sicilians, they're basically the Africans, right?" So that's how when
Hmm,
they left
hmm, hmm.
Sicily, they were leaving a place that discriminated against them for a variety of reasons. They get here and they get this offer to do something they couldn't do, which is become fully white.
Yep.
So, yes, that group comes here, and almost most of the people who immigrated here who are Italian are those darker. They're mixed with the Moors, which is just Africans,
Sure.
you know, who came here. And so, yeah, they don't qualify as WASP. So, see, there is another layer to this that white people who are not, who are Catholics, who are Italian, and other folks should pay attention to, because they don't intend to stop with us.
You
You know
know,
what I mean?
yeah, they are in for a surprise, aren't they? And
Yeah.
I mean, look, they're all when I saw in Minnesota where they were shooting white folks in the street, I'm like, oh dang, I don't think I've ever seen this before. I've seen it that not with white people, with black people.
Mhm.
So that
Well,
is to me a
people
signal.
say Kent State. So remember Kent State,
Mhm.
where they killed those white students. And then
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
South, Cheney, Schwerner, Goodman, they were murdered. So basically, anytime white people wake up and say, wait a minute, I feel allegiance with Black people, John Brown, right? They're going to murder you as a warning to
An
other white folks,
example.
as an example. Yeah, to other
Yeah.
white folks, right? Going all the way back to John Brown. So yeah, I mean, it's you can count on it like clockwork, right? You can count on it like clockwork. But FIFA, you were talking about FIFA.
Well, you know what? Let's table FIFA because I
Okay.
want your comment on. I think this photograph is going
Okay.
to be one of those that just goes down in history
Oh, geez.
because it
Yeah.
is so exemplary, I
Yeah.
guess, of
Yeah.
just where we are. I mean, this woman's, I, I can't even imagine. And
Hmm.
for folks that are listening, this is a photograph that came out over, I guess, over the weekend.
Hmm.
Um, these are, and I don't know what these guys call themselves now, but they spun out of this white supremacist group called Patriot Front. And, if you're paying attention, you've seen these guys, they walk around, they got the khaki pants and the polo shirt, the khaki, color caps, and, their entire face is just like under some sort of what balaclava type, you know,
Hmm.
and the first thing I thought about was, dang, these guys dressing just like ICE.
They're a combination of ICE and the Klan, right? With the white hoods. I mean,
Hmm.
they still have the white hoods. It's interesting they chose
Well,
white as
yeah,
opposed to black. So
ain't that something?
they're bringing that Klan aesthetic, if you will, to it. So they have the Klan aesthetic, the ICE aesthetic, and then the big thing was, well, they have a right for First Amendment speech. Well, damn, bitch, so is DEI. But you said DEI is illegal, so this is legal. You can preach hate and terrorize a community. That's legal. But having diversity inclusion in your workplace, oh, that's discriminatory. You can show up and do this kind of stuff, but if you make a comment about Charlie Kirk, you're going to be fired from your job. So First Amendment free speech only applies to racist speech or racist expression. That's under this administration. You could say that First Amendment speech is for racist white supremacist expression. The rest of us do not have freedom of speech. If we say, I don't like Charlie Kirk, I think he's a racist, I don't care what happened to him, that is terrible. Or if you say diversity, equity, inclusion is important for us to run our business and making sure we have a diverse workforce, you're going to get investigated. But you can show up like the Klan, and that's fine. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's something else. It is something else. I mean, think about just Colin Kaepernick. This guy
Yeah.
basically lost his work,
Yeah.
and he didn't even say anything. He just kneeled. That's all the guy did. And if you think about that, this guy, he didn't, say anything bad about anybody. All he did was kneel. He explained why, and that was it for him in the NFL.
Well, and the thing of it is, you shouldn't. The whole point of America is supposed to be freedom. If you don't have freedom not to salute the flag, then you don't have freedom. Then it's a fascist. It's not, so like, even when people are talking about America, they're talking crazy, like they're not making sense, right? Because he should have the freedom. Like, let's say it wasn't a racial issue, if let's say his religion, he just doesn't worship, he doesn't do that. You should have the right in a free society. But if you want but the way they're setting this up is the only people who have rights are racists. You have a right to be a racist, but you don't have a right to counter the racists. And that goes to the case I talked about last week about those people in Texas, Marlon, getting these 50,
Oh,
100-year, 40-year sentences,
yeah,
where January 6 rioters, who I put the video on, Michael Fatone, who a lot of people know because he's been public,
sure.
heard them saying, should we take his gun and kill him with his gun, as they beat him about the head with huge, heavy objects. He's debating, if I pull my gun, I'm not going to be able to shoot enough of them, and they're going to take my gun and then they're going to shoot me. They shat themselves, sorry, back to poop, and spread it on the walls, which I'll never get over. I'm never going
That
to
is
get over
just,
that.
yeah,
I'm never
that's
going to
so
get over that.
beyond.
The animalistic, but that tells you the animalistic, insane fever they were in. They constructed a noose to hang the vice president.
A
They
gallows.
are on a gallows. They are on the street free. This one lady wasn't even at the protests in Texas, but she has some magazines that are anti-government. I don't think we should, whatever, zines. They get that lady 50 years. So we are in a situation that I don't think enough people are alarmed. And I don't know what you feel about this transition, but it reminds me of the Andy Griffith Show.
Okay.
And Barney was going crazy like a fascist, arresting people for all kind of stupid stuff. And the citizens decided they were sick of Barney. So they decided they was going to do citizens arrest. And if you ever watch the
Okay.
show, Gomer Pyle was running around talking about citizens arrest, citizens arrest. And that is how we get the name of this Monday show, right?
That is correct. What we did, folks, that haven't been on before now, we kind of ran into I guess, sort of a block in terms of coming up with the name for the show. And so we put it out to the audience and, did a poll on Substack, and anybody could reply or vote rather. And here we go. You can see who I voted for. But that's how it shook out. And so from here on out, the Marlon and Shari trying to figure out the name of their show is now going to be called Citizens Arrest. And I like to play with the graphics, Shari. I just kind of put something together.
Okay, let's see.
But look at that sub. There's a new sheriff in town, folks.
I love it.
So yeah, we're still a work in progress, but I like it. It's funny how we came up with that one as even a choice. It's because we were laughing about the Andy Griffith Show of all things.
Yeah, and it's funny because before I just head off comments, we know Andy Griffith Show was not racially balanced. We're aware of that.
It's 1960s TV.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us that. We're aware of that. But I loved the show. I've seen every episode about 10 times, probably each episode, because I was a TV kid. So reruns when I was a kid were what the hell was on TV, not cable. So I loved the show, and I did like the relationship of the father and son. I thought it was a very good relationship. Interesting. My mother always had a different take on Andy Griffith. My mother said she didn't like Andy Griffith because he liked being a big fish in a little pond, and she read Andy as a person who comes off nice, but elevates himself in a situation where he is default the smartest person. And I thought that was interesting. Now, I don't know if that was just her personality was the issue, but it was an interesting read. And but the thing I like about Citizens Arrest is it speaks to the power of citizens. That there is a way to turn the tables, right? And we can turn the tables on those in power because we also have power. And so, I think there's something about citizens arrest. Now, I know that citizens arrest can also go really awry. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And historically, when we think of citizens arrest, I think we think of white vigilante groups policing Black bodies or white people, like Trayvon Martin, this person is responsible. But I think there's something intellectually interesting about two Black people.
I think so.
Saying that we have a right for citizens arrest.
Well, yeah. And I think, it just kind of captures the whole idea of what this, what we're trying to do with, holding folks accountable, calling out the, lazy narratives, disingenuous stuff. I mean, so it's not a physical arrest, but I think it's more of a philosophical arrest.
And our ability to say we have power also, and we are saying like we're arresting those ideas and those assumptions, and we're not gonna you're not the only one who gets to decide. And I think that's really what the concept of a citizen's arrest is that they're not the only ones who get to decide. We also get to decide what's wrong.
So we've actually got a whole different audience in the Substack chat room today, because I see Simone says, I remember that episode. So
Yeah,
I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, because when we first mentioned it, those people in that one didn't know what we
Well,
was
they
talking.
didn't even get the connection at all.
Mhm.
But yeah, so and I will tell you, I mean, my kids even on occasion have watched Andy Griffith back, when they were in the the age group where they watch television shows,
Yeah.
which is like long ago and far away.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull what you want out of things. And like I said, I love the father-son relationship. I love, the time he took with Opie to explain to him what's right and what's wrong. And I think, based on Ron Howard as an adult, he had good parents, but I think he said he had good experiences on shows like that and adults who did teach him what was right and what was wrong. And, he wasn't one of those crazy kids who came out of Hollywood. He went on to have a long and great career as a,
Yeah.
director. And it does matter to take time with a child to explain to them why and what, and these seem like very simple lessons, but I don't think everybody has those lessons.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be the default, like in my neighborhood, that I spent until I was in, I guess, junior high school in Little Rock, and the neighborhood that we lived in. Over the time that we lived there, just when we first moved there, there were just a few white people, and then within a year or two, it was a totally black neighborhood, as
Mhm.
people were fleeing out to West
Mhm.
Little Rock and that kind of thing. But you know, it was one of those things that if I was 3 or 4 blocks away and start acting a fool, there was a parent who knew my mama, and you got told, and
Mhm.
might get your butt spanked.
Yeah.
So you just and it wasn't like it was a fancy neighborhood like we were saying earlier. It's just working class folks, but everybody had a house. Ev- You know, all the kid, nobody's going to jail. I mean, I'm sure drugs existed, but it wasn't like a thing, like it
Yeah,
became.
yeah, yeah. I always tell people that. I mean, I grew up in a all black neighborhood, except for one white family who didn't get the white flight memo. Um, which was a result of real estate agents. Real estate agents created
Oh
that
yeah,
hysteria and pushed white people out of the communities. But um, everybody went to work and mowed their lawn, and they were all black, and they kept their house painted. And we sat outside, and we weren't afraid of being shot, and just none of that. And this is not the '60s. This is the mid '80s in Milwaukee. Milwaukee is just one of these places that a lot of the problems that bedeviled cities didn't really hit until the '90s,
mm,
mid '90s. Like we had a good long run of before like we got overwhelmed by problems. Like I would say we were a decade behind or more some bigger cities with some of the issues. The area that I grew up in now is considered one of the worst zip codes in the United States, but it was not when I was a kid because it
mm.
was all working class people. But all those people fled, like my parents, they all moved farther west, northwest, and then the neighborhood just was given up to a lot of poverty, a lot of rental. People bought the houses and rent them out and just made them, so it just totally changed. But yeah, I mean, I think when I think about citizens arrest, I think it is, again, I do think it's the juxtaposition of us as black people saying that we have some authority as citizens. I think that's what I think about, so yeah.
I think that's yeah. You said it well.
Mhm. Yeah, so
So
FIFA,
so
you can tag.
FIFA finally. Okay, Trump to mess FIFA up.
Good
So
Lord.
I haven't even, I'm just not a soccer person. I don't, and
Mhm.
in fact, I don't really watch that many sports anymore. I mean, because
Mhm.
I'm too busy. But um, recognizing that soccer, I believe, is like the biggest sport in the world, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, So
It's the biggest sport in the world.
we have,
It's what Harry Potter's Quidditch is based on.
okay, there you go. No, I mean, so just the bottom line is there was a player for the United States
Yeah.
that got a red card. And as I understand it, you get a yellow card. It's like a red, it's like a warning.
Mhm.
Whatever you're doing, you need to you're on notice. Well, this guy got a red card, and the red card results in immediate suspension for
Yeah.
the next game. Well, he's a really good player, and apparently Trump. And by the way, like you were saying earlier, he just admits all the stuff.
Mhm.
He's not scared to tell you what
No,
he gave a press conference this morning that was at least an hour.
he was
And
talking about that sham investment accounts for babies. But that's a
oh,
side
that's
story.
what the Trump account. I'm so glad my kids are grown because they
And
we're
it's
not
only
doing
for 2 years. And I'm sorry, just a quick side story. The
that.
Dells who were there, Michael Dell and his wife, they donated all this money. Really?
Yep.
Okay. What did Michael Dell get for that donation? A substantial stake in TikTok and a
Hmm.
government contract worth twice the amount of money. So what Michael Dell did was pay to play investment. And he got back about 5 times the amount of money. So
Yeah.
just put that out there. They're not wonderful people. They're people who did it for money. So
It is. It is so. This is just honestly. It's almost like I think I'm gonna wake up one morning and I just dreamed all this shit because it's so freaking crazy, Sherry, that
mhm.
people are just blatantly bribing the president, and he's letting them bribe him. He's setting up the infrastructure to be bribed.
Mhm.
Okay. So anyway, what apparently happened, he reached out to the head of FIFA, the guy. Remember a couple of years ago, he gave him like a soccer Nobel
That
Prize
was
or
last
some.
year, the
Oh,
FIFA Peace Prize.
see, I've totally lost track of just my whole perception of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently he reached out and asked them to give it another look. And now the guy doesn't have a red card. They rescinded it.
But
But
now Belgium is
Belgium,
protesting.
Belgium is protesting. But it's just why mess with soccer?
Well, let's also say that the guy is, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
birthright citizenship, which they're
Yes,
trying to
he
get rid of.
is.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
When
somebody
they
said,
need us, though, when they need us.
I was going to say, somebody said FIFA or, yeah, FIFA World Cup is really my Africans can beat your Africans cup. I mean, you know what I mean? Like players.
Yeah, somebody, Lynette's making me laugh. She said, "Can you wake me up too, Marlon?" So, I'm telling you, we're all ready to wake up from this nightmare.
Yeah, and then the American team is pretty heavily people who are people of color who are
Mhm.
not from this country, but who do they call Captain America on the team? The white guy. Is
Mm.
white guy who Christian Polsiak, which is I think sounds like a
Sounds
Polish.
Polish, yeah, Slavic or something, right?
Oh,
See, I don't.
Croatian. He's of Croatian descent and Italian
Okay.
descent, so he's not a
Ooh,
wasp. I don't know if Donald Trump
ooh.
know that,
Well,
but
but thank you.
they
Donald Trump don't read.
they call him Captain America,
Oh my.
and he's the white representation of a team that is significantly people of color and significantly people who are not from this country, and they just
Mm.
pretend like
It's all because of him.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to manage, and I was thinking, so I'm not a big soccer person either. It's my uh, you know positionality, age, etc. But there was a great article in the Guardian where it said Donald Trump is the first soccer president, and it's actually a story about what a psychopath he is. But when he was
Okay.
at the military school, a lot of the people at the military school were from Latin American countries. They were the children of dictators, and he actually played soccer. He's actually the first American president who actually played soccer. He wasn't
Really?
good at it. He was actually very bad at it, but he lies and says he was good at it because he lies about everything. But the article is really about his psychological orientation and the fact that he, tried to punch out a teacher when he was 7. I mean, Donald Trump is probably like a serial killer. Like if his parents weren't wealthy and he hadn't been sent the way he was, he would be involved in some sort of significant criminal activity, just as his personality from the time he was a kid to now. But he is America's first soccer president. So he's the first president that we know of who actually played soccer in like a college setting, even though he was not very good because of all these Latin American rich kids at that military school. So it's an interesting article to read.
And where was this? The Guardian?
The Guardian. I'm going to put the link in here.
I will say the Guardian is doing some really good work, by the way. If you can support them, I think it's one of the few that I don't have a lot of negative to say about them. They're pretty good.
Some people do, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say they're without, who among you without sin?
Yeah, I don't think any of them are, but as it goes.
Yeah, as it goes, you're looking for what you can get. One of the CNN anchors has already quit because they just, they're Bari Weiss and all the lunatics are coming in soon, and so
who quit?
Her name is it's not oh shoot.
I know Anderson Cooper just decided he's going to retire before they could push him out, I guess.
Oh, from CNN?
Yeah, I think when his contract is up, he's out.
And hold on here. CNN reporter just quit.
So this is something that happened today.
Paula Reed. No, it was like last week.
Oh, really? Paula Reed?
She's a
the White House. Yeah, she's good.
She does White House and so really good investigative person, whether you like it or not. Really good investigative person. And then Anderson Cooper left CBS because he didn't want to mess with Bari Weiss, and she wanted him to be.
Maybe it wasn't CNN.
Yeah,
maybe
she wanted him to be the anchor of the news, and he was like, "I'm working with this crazy bitch." So he was like, "Nah." And now that she's like the old folks would say a haint. That's like a ghost down south. She is following him to CNN, and people at CNN like, damn, like where can we go? And so I don't know what he's going to do. And I don't know what the Ellisons are going to do if they're going to put her in charge of CNN. I mean, basically, they're going to have news networks that nobody watches. Exactly. CBS, CNN,
people
because
are
the
not going
audience,
to watch this.
Right, the audience that they're looking for is served by Fox. The rest of the audience is not coming to see your nonsense. And this quiet middle or whatever the hell they think they're talking about doesn't exist. So, I guess they're prepared to lose money. I just put the link to the article. It's the Guardian article. It's called, the title of the article is Bullying, Hazing, and the Making of a Soccer President. Donald Trump's Forgotten Career on the Pitch. But the article is really about the fact that Donald Trump is I don't know if he's sociopath or psychopath. And I'm not.
He might be both.
Yeah, I'm not being
Can you
extreme.
be both?
I mean, he could be both. When you read the article, they're talking about a child who was so violent, he tried to punch out a teacher at 7, who saw, and I'm quoting this from the article, who saw West Side Story and got fixated with the knives and was keeping all these knives in his bedroom. And his father's like, look, and he became threatening. So that's why they sent him to the military school. He gets to the military school. He mouths off to the military, and the military school is full of abusers, the teachers and stuff. They're crazy. He mouths off to the teacher or corporal or I don't know, whatever, the person in charge. That guy knocks him out, like knocks him the F out. He takes
what?
Yeah, he takes this is how you should behave. So he gets a group of people at the school. They bully everybody. He hangs a kid out of a window, Donald Trump, and almost lets him go. Like the other kids are he literally is going to kill this kid. They're trying to keep him from doing it. And instead of getting punished, his father comes up there, they give this money, and he gets a promotion somehow for almost killing another kid. So you really see the making of
a sociopath.
It's a crazy article. I read it because I thought it was going to be about soccer. And then I was like, and some of the stuff I remember, but I don't remember the trying to punch out the teacher at 7. I don't remember that. And that really speaks to me that there is something wrong with Donald Trump. Like, you know what I mean? Because you ever notice like most people get ashamed or get bashful? He never does. He tend to have, I call it brakes. Like he ain't got no brakes. Like he's a car without brakes. There's no brakes internally. And I suppose, and people always say, oh, it's because of dementia age. He been like
He's
this.
been like this.
7.
Yeah, he's been like this. I mean, you think about it. He has been. That was the thing that made me. I remember the first time I heard somebody say they were going to vote for Donald Trump, and I lived over in Wilmington at the time, and it was a handyman. Took care of all of the whenever something broke or whatever. And we're just really nice guy. We're just shooting the breeze, and he said, this Trump guy, and I burst out laughing. I was like, surely not. Surely not. And here we are 10 years later.
Yeah.
Incredible.
People respond to that viciousness. Side story, because I find the psychology of Donald Trump to be interesting to a certain extent. People always talk about how gay coded he is, how sexual male coded, the way he talks about other men, which is creepy and objective.
Oh, I know.
Not from the perspective there's anything wrong with men, appreciating other men, but it's weird from him and it's creepy from him. But what I tell people to remember is he was raised politically by Roy Cohn. And I might be saying the name wrong. Cohn is C-O-H.
No, it's Roy Cohn. Yeah.
That guy was a psychopath. He was a
closeted gay person too,
man,
right?
Who did things to undermine other gay people. He was one of the worst human beings to ever walk the earth as far as being nasty and doing just horrible things to people. And he taught Donald Trump how to be in this world. He took a person who was already a sociopath by nature and then gave him more fuel about behavior. But I've often thought Donald Trump's fixation with men's bodies comes from that because he was with Roy Cohn all the time. And so even though Roy Cohn was closeted, have been, you know what I mean? Where Roy Cohn,
look at his song that he's always playing, YMCA, and it's like, dude, don't you know? Which, by the way, R.I.P. I think the guy that their lead guy died maybe a week ago.
Yeah, when he started talking about the golfers' private parts,
Arnold Palmer. Yeah, I know.
What is happening? But is how he was raised, and that's why I always tell people to pay attention to this anti-Catholicism, because he was also raised by the Peel man, the power of positive thinking guy.
Okay.
Norman Vincent
Peale.
And Norman Vincent Peale officiated Donald Trump's marriage to his first wife, Ivana. And Donald Trump is a big acolyte, big believer. And Norman Vincent Peale was vehemently anti-Catholic. Vehemently. And the way Donald Trump has zero respect for the Pope comes from that. And what's interesting to me is, like, remember when Barack Obama was president and people he hung out with former radicals in Hyde Park in Chicago and blah, blah, blah. But nobody ever talks about the influence that Roy Cohn and Norman Vincent Peale had on Donald Trump and still have. I mean, these two men have like an outsized impact on who Donald Trump is. And they are crazy people, right?
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, wasn't Roy Cohn like, involved with McCarthy?
Yeah. He's a horrible person. Yeah. He would, rat out other gay people. He was the chief counsel for McCarthy. He would call people communists when they weren't communists and he taught Donald Trump. I think, what is it? Is it never surrender, never apologize?
The dude, I have never heard the word sorry come out of his mouth.
Yeah,
Shari, I don't know if you get what your clock says, but
it's time for us to end it up.
It's time. Boy, it went quick, but I'm just feeling good about having finally having a name for the show. And I think
Yes,
we
and
landed
we
I
have
think
to
we
get.
landed on a good one.
We did, and we have to get a guest. I'm going to talk to you about that. We have a
Hmm.
guest who could join us next week, so we want to firm that up. But yeah, we plan to have guests and have more topics. And if you all like this, of course, subscribe to each of us. Maybe one day we'll make a Citizens Arrest page. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But definitely
Man, I'll tell you, I want to make a citizen's arrest. I really do. only only thing is, I mean, it probably won't go well.
Yeah, well, we'll start here. We'll start here, but definitely subscribe. Tell people and I make this pitch all the time. One of the reasons Marlon and I are coming together is because smaller creators on this platform have a harder time reaching larger audiences. Obviously, people from big news organizations. I mean, we're about to get flooded with people from CNN at some point once
Oh
that
yeah,
merger goes through over on Substack. And it really, and you can support whoever you want, but do remember that small folks, we need the numbers to get seen. It's not even just the dollars of subscription, though dollars for subscription does help. It helps us create. It's also the numbers of people who subscribe that
absolutely.
rise this in the algorithm. And so if you like this, there's 130 eyeballs, try to see what's the black phrase, each one reach one. That doubles you to 260. So
Yep.
just think about it like that.
I always tell people, that are not subscribers to subscribe and give me a chance. And, you know, the content will turn you into a paid subscriber. I'm not worried about that. But,
Mhm.
and honestly, like you said, everybody, the way I try to do it is, all my writing, the content is, it's free. And I just figure it's almost like the honor system. If you can be a paid subscriber, become one. And that allows me to be able to make enough money where I can let it all, let stuff be free instead of putting up paywalls. So,
Yes. All right. People got other lives to get to.
and
Some of
I know, man, and I gotta go out here and make citizens arrest.
them. All
Okay.
right.
We will see you next Monday, 3 Eastern, noon
Pacific.
Pacific, and take care.
Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.